look, worst case, if it all goes bad, we just get divorced and split everything down the middle, same as back home. That's how it works everywhere, mate.
Same as back home. Two claims in one sentence. And in the Philippines, both of them are wrong. There is no divorce here, and there is no automatic split. Today we're walking through what actually happens to your property if the marriage ends. And the one legal exit that does exist costs more than most cars. That number's coming. Here's the belief, stated plainly. If the marriage doesn't work out, you divorce, the assets get split 50-50, and everyone moves on. The same script as Australia, the States, or the UK. That script does not run here. Not one line of it. Start with the headline fact. The Philippines is the only country in the world, apart from Vatican City, with no divorce law for the general population. The one exception is the Muslim community, which has its own legal code that does allow divorce. For everyone else, a divorce bill passed the House of Representatives in 2024, then died in the Senate when that Congress ended. It's been refiled in the new Congress, and as of today it is still not law. So if there's no divorce, what is there? 3 doors. Door 1. Declaration of nullity. The court declares the marriage was never valid in the first place. Door 2. Annulment. The marriage was valid, but there was a defect at the start. Fraud, force, no parental consent. Door 3. Legal separation. You live apart, the property gets divided. But here's the kicker. You are both still legally married. Forever. Neither of you can remarry.
Hang on. So even the best case exit here, I'm still married at the end of it?
Through door 3, yes. The only doors that actually end the marriage are nullity and annulment. And they're not a form you file. They're a full court case you have to win. One more thing about door 1, because it's where the overwhelming majority of these cases go. Psychological incapacity. And it doesn't mean what it sounds like. It is not a mental illness diagnosis. And since a landmark Supreme Court ruling in 2021, Tan Andal versus Andal, it isn't even treated as a medical question anymore. It's a legal one. Was one spouse genuinely incapable, not unwilling, incapable, of understanding and carrying out the core duties of marriage? And was that incapacity already there on the wedding day? The court doesn't even require a psychologist's testimony anymore, though in practice most cases still use one. What it absolutely is not, a rubber stamp for "we grew apart." Judges deny these petitions all the time.
Righto. So it's not about anyone being crazy. It's about never being able to do the marriage in the first place?
That's the test, and proving it in court is exactly why the price tag looks the way it's about to. Which brings us to the number. Current figures from Philippine family law firms put a typical uncontested annulment or nullity case at roughly 200,000 to 500,000 pesos, around 3.5 to 8,000 US dollars, across attorneys' fees, filing fees, and publication costs. The psychological evaluation alone commonly runs 50 to 75,000 pesos. If your spouse contests the case, costs regularly blow past 1 million pesos. And the timeline, a clean, uncontested case runs 1 to 2 years. A contested one runs 2 to 4. That's the exit. That's what "will just get divorced" actually costs in the Philippines.
That's the deposit on a house, just to leave.
Now the property. Say one of those doors actually opens. The property regime gets liquidated. The community pot is totaled up. Debts come out, and what's left gets divided. And if the marriage is declared void, never valid, the rules we covered last video take over. Article 147, if you were both free to marry, equal shares presumed. Article 148, if one of you wasn't, then you get only what you can prove you paid for. Dollar for dollar. Receipts or nothing. Legal separation has extra teeth worth knowing about. The spouse the court finds at fault forfeits their share of the net profits of the marriage and loses the right to inherit from the innocent spouse. Even a will already naming them gets revoked by operation of law. Yes, the law reaches into wills. Hold that thought, because what happens to all of this when one of you dies is its own minefield, and it will be getting its own video soon. But you're a foreigner. So there's a ceiling on all of this, and it's made of concrete. Whatever the split says, you still cannot end up owning land. The liquidation can hand you money, buildings, vehicles, a share of a business, but the land itself can never land in your name. And one Supreme Court case shows exactly how brutal that ceiling gets. 2009. Matthews versus Taylor. A British husband funds the purchase of land in Boracay, his money, all of it, titled in his Filipino wife's name because that's the only way to buy it. The marriage breaks down. She leases the property out. He goes to court to assert his rights. Here's everything the Supreme Court gave him. Nothing. Not part ownership. Not a conjugal share. Not reimbursement. He didn't even get his purchase money back. The court said the Constitution absolutely prohibits him from acquiring the land, so the law treats the money as if he'd knowingly handed it over illegally. And courts don't help either side of an illegal deal. He didn't even have the standing to question what his wife did with the property. His money, her land, full stop.
He paid for the whole thing and got nothing. Not even the money back.
And before you say it, no, this doesn't contradict what we covered last video. Buying the land with your money and building on her land are two different legal universes. Buying land, you're constitutionally banned from owning. The courts leave you exactly where they find you. 0. Building or improving on land she legitimately owns? That's lawful spending, and the reimbursement rules from Video 2 apply. One gets you nothing. The other gets you a claim. Know which universe your money is in before it moves. Now the questions that flood the comments on this topic. 4 of them, quick answers. Every one of them a trap somebody's currently standing in. First, I'm a foreigner. I divorced her back in my home country years ago. I'm done, right? Not in the Philippines, you're not. A foreign divorce isn't automatically recognized here. Until a Philippine court judicially recognizes that divorce, Philippine records still list you as married, which quietly shapes inheritance, property, and whether either of you can remarry here. Plenty of men discover this a decade too late, usually when property or an estate is on the line. Second, can we even use a foreign divorce? Only if at least one spouse was not a Filipino citizen when the divorce happened. If that's you, the recognition case is real work. But it's generally faster and cheaper than a full Philippine annulment. 2 Filipino citizens divorcing abroad? It doesn't count here at all. Third, and this one catches everyone. We split up years ago, never filed anything. Surely that changes something. It changes nothing. Separating, in fact, does not dissolve the property regime. Under the default rules, the community pot stays open until a court closes it, which means the salary you earn and the assets you buy 10 years after walking out can still be community property. The law doesn't care that you moved on. It cares what a court has ordered. And if the answer is nothing, you're still in the pot.
Hang on. So a bloke separated 10 years, new job, new savings? Half of that could still be hers?
Under the default regime, until a court dissolves it, the pot stays open. And last, the one that surprises Catholics. A church annulment changes nothing in civil law. You can have the marriage annulled by the church and still be fully legally married in the eyes of the Philippine state. The two systems don't talk to each other. Civil court or nothing. Now the part that matters more than the scary cases. None of this is a reason not to marry. And none of it means Philippine law is out to get foreigners. The same rules protect your wife and kids from a foreigner who behaves badly, and that's exactly how a family law system should cut. What it means is this: the time to understand these rules is before the wedding and before the money moves, not in a lawyer's office after everything's already gone wrong. The protections that exist, documented spending, a construction agreement, the ownership structures that actually survive, all share one feature: they were put on paper early. Next video, we build the strongest version of that answer. The lease and ownership structures that actually hold up, including the one almost nobody in this space explains correctly. For now, the takeaway is the same as it's always been. Paper first, money second. If you've gained some helpful knowledge from our videos and would like us to continue covering the topics no one else wants to go near, hit like and subscribe.
Do your due Filogence, mate.